All right, those were the top headlines that we're tracking for you at this hour. And it's been more than 24 hours since a U.S. warplane went down inside Iran. It carried at least 2 crew members, the first American aviators shot down over enemy territory since 2003. U.S. forces reportedly rescued 1 crew member within hours, but another remains missing. Here's what we know so far. U.S. media reports citing a congressional aide say that Pentagon has informed a House panel that the status of the second F-15 Strike Eagle service member is not known. Typically, it means that the Pentagon doesn't know the service member's location. This comes as Iran has declared a reward for capturing the crew member alive.
Please pay attention. Dear viewers, please pay attention. Residents of Kogiluya and Boya Ahmad province, dear and courageous people, if you capture and hand over a pilot or pilots of the enemy alive to the law enforcement and military forces, you will receive a valuable reward and prize.
The crash kicked off a rescue and search operation. Tasnim news agency, the semi-official news outlet affiliated with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, reported that the U.S. sent out AC-130 Hercules plane and Black Hawk helicopters to look for the crew. But these aircraft also came under heavy Iranian fire. U.S. official told Reuters that 2 Black Hawk helicopters involved in the search effort were hit but made it out of the Iranian airspace. An A-10 providing close air support was also hit. Reports said it crashed in Kuwait after the pilot ejected. Iranian state media also released a video claiming that it showed Iranian air defense downing the American A-10 aircraft. However, the veracity of the video could not be confirmed. Iranian state broadcaster IRIB shared a claim saying it was a black day for U.S. aviations. It listed the alleged losses and hits, including the F-15E jet, the 2 Black Hawk helicopters, and it said that 2 A-10 aircraft were also hit, with 1 crashing in the Persian Gulf and the other making an emergency landing. It claimed 2 emergencies for American aircraft, one for an F-16 over Iraq and another for a KC-135 over Israel. The F-15 Eagle is the first U.S. plane to go down in Iranian territory in 5 weeks of the war. It is a twin-engine, all-weather tactical fighter with a range of about 5,000 kilometers. It is known for its undefeated air-to-air combat record. Each unit costs nearly 90 to 94 million US dollars. The U.S. military has announced the loss of several aircraft during the Iran operations, including 1 tanker that crashed in Iraq and 3 F-15 jets shot down by Kuwaiti friendly fire. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that the president has been briefed about the incident. Reports said that Trump cancelled all press conferences after convening national security team. Hours later, President Donald Trump told NBC that F-15 loss would not affect negotiations with Iran, saying, and I quote, "No, it's not at all. No, it's war." And for more on this, we are now being joined by Dr. Wael Awad. He's a senior international journalist and political analyst, former president, FCC South Asia. Dr. Awad, thank you so much for joining us today. Following the reports of Iran downing a second U.S. jet in the Gulf, how do you foresee the U.S. responding to this loss of aerial superiority, if at all?
Thank you for having me. I believe the United States will aggravate its attack on the infrastructure of Iran, especially the civilian infrastructures that they have done by attacking bridges now and universities, and now they will continue with a list of targets which has been put on by the Israelis defense army and also the American forces, and they are now going to target more than 7,000 more targets inside Iraq.
Right. You were just highlighting how the US has said that they're going to target power plants and infrastructure in Iran. Do you think now, from a change in regime, the target has become a societal collapse altogether?
Look, the United States has always been not able to give us the actual strategy or the strategic ambiguity about their objective of this war. First, they started with the nuclear issue, and then they said it's okay, the Strait of Hormuz. Now they're saying it is the change of regime. Thirdly, then we look at the Israelis' objective, and they tell you we wanted to terminate a regional power called Iran for the infrastructure, for their ballistic missile technology, uranium, and their scientists, that they can cause a threat for the expansion attitude of Israel in the region. And that's why this war is getting escalated and expanding, because the United States is also using military bases in neighboring country where Iran is retaliating against this country and gone beyond these military targets, which is also a clear indication that the widening of the war, it's one of the most benefit things for the United States. The global trade will be a tremendous impact on this, and a country in Asia will be, and also America will have a total control on the export of oil, because now after they captured the Venezuelan, they are saying that we are able to sell you the oil, and we have the largest supplier of oil in the world, including Russia. So therefore, United States is gaining, and the Arab countries are bleeding. So therefore, they would continue this war. And the second part, with the objective are not reached, because Iran surprised them all that they were able to defend themselves, despite the American claim and the Israeli that they have destroyed and obliterated their capabilities. So there is no end to this war, and I don't see any end, especially after attacking civilian target, and this is a war of no return.
Right. Like you highlighted, there's no clear end or timeline to the end of this war. I'll just come to the economic impact bit in just a bit. But Doctor, how are you reading into Iran's former diplomat, Mohammad Javad Zarif's latest comments? They have also come in at this point in time. He has offered suggestion as in terms to see a ceasefire in the war. He says that Tehran should offer to place limits on its nuclear program and to reopen the Strait of Hormuz in exchange for an end to all sanctions that have been imposed on Iran as of now. How much weight do you think Iran is going to give to such kind of comments coming in from the former diplomat?
The fact of the matter remains that he is the only survival of the moderate in Iran, the interlocutors who were discussing with the American and the West that there could be a way out and there is no need for war. Having said that, I would say by the United States have totally destroyed and killed most of the top leaderships of Iran. Definitely the second leadership's line is more hard and more difficult to go for any sort of a negotiation or sit across the table with the United States or surrender to them. So there is no question of surrendering. And what Zarif has been saying is exactly where the Iranians now are criticizing him openly in the street. Down with your diplomacy, the Strait of Hormuz and Iran will not surrender. These are the slogans are against him inside Iran, which we are hearing from the people there. So I don't think that many of the Iranians buy his argument, because none of the West country buy his suggestion now, because it's very clear that this war is no more a war against the nuclear capability of Iran, though they have not had any military capability on that, and America knows this. Even the International Nuclear Agency knows this. Everybody knows that they are not, and even they were almost reached to a deal during Geneva discussion. So it's a matter of destroying the whole country. It's a civilization under threat. I don't think any wise Iranian will come for any sort of a solution of a compromise unless and until the total cessation of this attack can happen. And that is where we talk that the role of the international community now is fast required to make a step to make sure that this war come to an end and let us sit down across the table. If not, then there is no point. It's a futile suggestion.
Right. Like you highlighted, some intervention from the global partners is required at this point in time. Now, how do you expect to such a pitch? What kind of a reaction are you expecting from the US to such a pitch, and also its Western allies? What are you thinking? Could there be further talks on, these lines?
For the United States wanted to drag not only the regional power, they wanted to drag their allies from NATO forces. You know, their talk of opening of the Strait of Hormuz and calling it an international water and condemning Iran for doing so and attacking the neighbor. That's what the American objective is. That's what we have learned from the American history of invasion or attacking any country. First they destroy, then they call the regional power, then their allies to come and fix the mess, and then they manage the crisis. American style or like this, that they will have total control on the oil of Iran. And look at the American president himself, what he was saying. We will catch the Strait of Hormuz, and then we will be able to make lots of money. It's just like a cowboy looting a nation. What is going on with our cowboy diplomacy here? What we need is that the international community, even the South-South voices, should be on top and should keep putting the pressure on the American and on the Israelis that this is we are the sufferer. You have no problem. You have oil. You have thousands of miles away. What are you doing to us? Why the common man in Asia should suffer because of the American, and the Arabs should pay the bills and also should be killed?
Right. Dr. Awad, I was just going to come to that, the impact that the common man is seeing. Now, all of this is happening and global intervention is required, as you said. But at the same time, as you were highlighting, US wants to become the top supplier of oil. But at the same time, US intelligence has warned that Iran is unlikely to ease the Hormuz Strait, chokehold that is. So with oil and fertilizer ships stuck over there, there are concerns related to food crisis, if not in the coming months, in the coming year or so. What kind of action can be expected to ease that situation? What is the reaction that you're expecting?
Let me put it this way. A month ago, was the Strait of Hormuz open or no? Was the sailings peacefully, freely happening or no? Now you created a mess. You created a war. You are responsible for this crisis. It's not the Iran. Iran, the war imposed on the Iranian by the international law, by the UN Security Council, by UN Charter. Everybody knows this is illegal, illegitimate war imposed by Israel and the United States. So Iran at the defensive, right? So now Iran saying we are partially closing for the shipping companies, which is having an American flag or American affiliated adversaries to Iran. So they are not putting a blockage for India or for the rest of Asia who are not taking part in this war. And that is their legitimate right. They have to monitor the maritime water as per the international maritime law, that the responsibility is for Iran and for Muscat, Oman, to make sure that this passage takes place. But now we are at a war. The international law have lots of clause and articles that they can speak at the time of a war. You cannot allow military movement in this part of the world. So if the congestion is happening, is nothing but the sole responsibility fall at the American and the Israelis.
Right, right. And Dr. Awad, you previously said that the goal is not a regime change anymore, but the disintegration of the Iranian state altogether. Now, you did say that US wants to benefit from this economically. On a macro level, that may sound, fit, that they want to become the top oil supplier to other nations. But at the same time, given that the Strait of Hormuz is closed, the American consumer is also suffering. They are suffering at the fuel pump. Gasoline prices have gone up. So who do you think actually benefits most from this fragmented Iran? And how does that change the security ecosystem of South Asia?
Very good question. I believe the American president deceiving his public by saying we are nothing to do with the Strait of Hormuz, right? But if you see the rise of the oil prices having a great impact, not only on Asia, on the American taxpayers and on the American people who are not used to this much high price to pay for the oil. So despite the fact that America is the largest exporter of oil in the world now, and followed by Russia, now, if that is the total control, even President Trump said it, if you cannot get your ship through Strait of Hormuz, come and buy from us. The same thing they did in Ukraine war with Russia. They told the European, come and buy from us. But the European President Macron told him, you are selling us the oil 4 times what the Russian were selling us. So Americans sole beneficiaries, arm industry sole beneficiaries, their military sole beneficiaries, their billionaire club is sole beneficiaries, but the common man in the United States and in the rest of the world are paying the price because this war was imposed by the billionaire club, which was surrounding President Trump, which paid him the money to go for this adventure.
Right, right. Dr. Awad, we are 36 days into this intensified West Asia conflict. Do you think there's still any chance for a diplomatic off-ramp, or have the events of the last 48 hours, the downing of jets and the targeting of leadership, has all of this pushed West Asia into a great war from which it cannot retreat anymore?
Yes, the United States wanted to pull with a win. And the American president style, he is a style of attacking Iran, have a strong impact on Iran, say, yes, I completed my objective, I'm out. But the Israeli telling him that it is Israel, it is Tel Aviv who will tell when this war will stop. And Netanyahu had a meeting last night with his Security Council and all the military elites that what are the target we are going to attack Iran. And if you have already completed the military target in Iran, what America and Israel doing are committing a war crime. It is understood under international law. You cannot attack civilian target because you want to put pressure on the Iranian, or you wanted to reduce the pain of this country into rubble. You cannot do it like Gaza style. This is a huge country, and there are 90 million people are there. If you have already targeted 12,000 targets so far, as per the American and the Israelis feedback, that means you have killed, if it is each target only one person died, that there are more than 12,000 people have been killed, civilian, and including lakhs of people who have been injured. What is going on in this war? Is it that this is the American democracy? They were promising the Iranian opposition that go to the street, kill your own military people and the police, and then we will bring for you our democracy. To hell with this democracy.
All right, point taken. Thank you, Dr. Awad, for joining us today and sharing that perspective with us. On that note, we'll let you go.
Thank you.